Hello there, my dear friends. Salamun alaikum. It's very good to be with you. I have a video that has to be published. It's an interview or a participation I had with a group from Johannesburg, South Africa. And I think that video is being published. But I thought I also want to add this important short video for you in which I clarify a matter which I think might have not been sufficiently clarified until now. And fortunately, my good viewers, those who view my material, have remarked on it, and I've received some personal messages to this effect. And it pertains to the idea of spiritual awareness, or a sense of spirituality. Now, the Qur'an doesn't use the word spirituality. What the Qur'an uses is a term nearness to God. And let me just show you this term, how it's being used. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَأَوْلَادَكُمْ فِتْنَةٌ وَأَنَّ اللَّهُ عِنْدَ أَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ عِنْدَهُ أَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ. So by Allah, you find the best of rewards. Look at another one. There we go. Then there are some of the desert Arabs who embrace God and the last day and who regard that which they invest as a means of attaining closeness to God and as a means of staying aligned to the messenger. Indeed, it shall become a means of attaining closeness to God. Qurbatin indallah. So the term here is qurbatan ilallah. That is the term that the Qur'an uses. And then the Qur'an uses a variety of additional terms like, to be a pious person, to be Hasan, to be an upright person. So the question I want to address in this video is the essence of Islam, the essence of the ideal citizen, the ideal mu'min, the ideal submitter to the divine will, is his essence secular or spiritual? Because now I've heard many Qur'anists or people who are, dedicated to the Qur'an only, sort of depict the ideal mu'min as a secular being, as a non-spiritual being. And nothing could be further from the spirit and the essence of the Qur'an. And I definitely take issue with that sort of sketching or characterizing of the ideal mu'min. In my reading of the Qur'an, the ideal mu'min is essentially a very spiritual being. In other words, a very otherworldly being. And by otherworldly, I mean transcendent, sort of dismissive of those things which tempt the flesh, which appeal to the flesh. Although we don't take the position of denying the flesh or the temptations of the flesh, as our Christian brothers would call it, like the everyday things, like, for men there would be women, cars, luxury, property, wealth. We're not denying those things, but what we are arguing, what the Qur'an seems to be stating, is that there is something more noble, more sublime than those things. And even if we should pursue those things, and even if we should enjoy those things, if we are able to, real pleasure, real fulfillment, real accomplishment comes from being spiritual. Now, in being spiritual, there's a host of other traits that go with being spiritual. And those traits are generosity, selflessness, courage, and love, and standing for what is true, what is right, what is righteous, what is fair. And so my video that I want to make, the short video and responding to those that have written to me, is yes, I never deny that the Sufi aspect of Islam, and I'm not talking about the Sufi Dufi here. I'm speaking, when I say the word Sufi, in Sunni Islam there is what is referred to as Sufism. Sufism is transcendentalism. It is being a transcendent human being. It is being a person that is otherworldly, next worldly. And how many times does the Qur'an not emphasize that we should put our emphasis on the next world, not on this world? And if Sufism, in the Shia tradition, they call it irfan, and there's also a word called gnosis, 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 but you say gnosis, that refer to that sort of divine illumination that we experience by being illuminated by the light of the Qur'an, by the light of being true to ourselves, being true to our fellow human beings, being true to creation in general. So my dear brothers and sisters, this is not a contentious video. I know this is not a video that's going to get clicks and likes and stuff. But I'm not here for clicks and likes. I'm here to share the truth as I see it most honestly from my perspective. And I can tell you that attitude, that spiritual attitude, that cultivation of nearness, of qurba, of irfan, of Sufism, that cultivation of love for the next world, love for your Rabb, for your master and sustainer, that almost like diminishes all your problems in this world. So if you a businessman, whether your business flourishes or whether it falters, if you're an employee, whether it flourishes or falters, and believe me, I've been on both sides. I've been on the flourishing end and on the faltering end. There were times when my business was flourishing, when I was in the heyday of my life, in my roaring 40s. I rode that wave. I was on top of the world. I could spend, I could buy whatever I liked. And then there was a time when the business faltered and I had to pay my debts. I had to go and beg for terms, and I had to beg people to accept terms to repay all these mega hundreds of thousands. And in both of those, I can tell you now, in both of those, I needed God. First of all, I needed God to restrain me. I needed Allah to restrain me in times of prosperity, in times of plenty. I needed God to be there as a restraint on me. And in times of hardship, in times of despair, I needed God to carry me, to sustain me, to keep my soul alive. And so, my brothers and sisters, this is just from me to remind you that if you have seen my project as being a project to secularize you, to turn you into science junkies. I love science. I love the rational aspect of the Qur'an. And our feet should always be planted on firm earth. You know, Sufi Dufis, when I say that word, I refer to when people come up with all sorts of, the 1001 Arabian Night stories. And although I don't dispel all of the amazing hidden knowledge that exists, and we can talk one whole night till the next morning about spiritual experiences and about what are there besides what is obvious and what is scientific and what is measurable and sensible, but we don't allow ourselves to be overcome by those things. We keep our feet on the ground. We trust in God. We use the Qur'an as our benchmark, as our anchor. And that is how we grow our soul. Our soul, there's no limit to where the soul can grow, but the feet has to be on terra firma, as they say, on firm earth. So my dear friends, my call to you is always cultivate love, closeness to Allah. Always cultivate a consciousness of Allah. Whatever you do, always think of Allah first and then think of what you want to do. And remember that we are not created for this world, but for the year after. And inshallah, I will place that other longer video that pertains to Salah again. I will also publish that maybe tomorrow, just to give some space between this one and that one. Look out for that one. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.